Okay, so we've done both sides. We've done the accumulation phase, we've done the liquidation phase. Now we need to see sinking funds. And the liquidation phase is kind of a form of sinking fund. What we want to look at is like amortizing a loan. So let's say that Pat borrows, let's say Pat's going to buy a truck. Throw out a number for how much you're going to pay for it.
$37,000. $99,999.
Somebody beat you to it here. Somebody here threw out $37,000 for a new truck. So Pat's gonna borrow $37,000 for a truck. Now, let's say Pat has pretty good credit. I've actually seen auto loans as low as like 1.9%, but we're gonna give Pat here 2.9%. And I can remember when 5 years was the longest they would ever go on an auto loan. Now some of these are stretching out up to 8 years. Let's say that this is
10 now.
some of them for 10.
Yep.
I suppose if you got a $60,000 truck, they have to. We're going to stretch this one out for 6 years. Find the monthly payment. This is the exact same process as if we said Pat had $37,000, is going to be earning 2.9% and wants to draw out every month for 6 years. So this is a sinking fund. So the payment is equal to the principal, the amount of the loan, divided by 3 open parentheses, 1 plus R divided by N, close parentheses, power of N times T. There won't be any surprises here. This is the same formula we were using before. Minus 1, close parentheses, divided by open parentheses. I'm going to put numbers there. R divided by N times parentheses 1 plus R divided by N, close, power of N times T, close and close. So it is exactly the same formula as drawing out during the liquidation phase of an annuity. So this is going to be $37,000 divided by 1, 2, 3. 1 plus 0.029 divided by 12, close parentheses. The power of 6 times 12 is 72 periods. Minus 1, close, divide by, open, 0.029, divide by 12, times, parentheses, 1 plus 0.029, divided by 12, close, power of 72, close and close. Yeah. So what's the payment? You guys get $560.51? I'll give you a second to re-enter it if you need to. Now here's the object lesson for this example. Just what you wanted, right? $560.51 times 72 payments. So that $37,000 vehicle cost $40,356.72. That's not bad in interest. Yeah, $3,000, $3,300 in interest is not bad for that. No,
That's just a lot of interest. That's a
it's
lot
still a
of
lot of interest.
I gotta get that.
Let's say, actually 2.9%, a lot of your credit unions are still offering that on car loans. So Andy goes and borrows $37,000 for a car, but Andy does not have such good credit. Has to go through one of those, like, car time type. Car hop, yep. Some of those I've seen as high as 12.9%. We're going to go 12.1%. Actually, you know what? Let's be a little more. Let's do 9.1%.
Wow.
Like I said, I've seen the worst I've ever seen on an auto loan, I think, was like 18.9%. You're talking credit card type interest there. For 6 years. What's that?
I thought that doesn't Luther offer you a vehicle even if you have bad credit?
Yep. But that's where the hitch is. They're getting that double-digit interest rate.
Oh.
So we're gonna write out the same formula. We're just replacing the 0.029 with the 0.091 for the new interest rate.
Is that a division symbol after the 37,000?
Yeah, that should be. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There you go. What'd you get?
Not right. 204,000.
Yeah, you hit times instead of divide. I get $668.78. Anybody else come up with that? I'll give you a minute. So now back to our object lesson. 668.78 times 72. $48,152.16. You just went from paying $3,300 in interest on that car to paying $11,100 in interest on that car. Triples your interest you pay.
Unbelievable.
Buyer's regret is the lot.
Yeah. Well, buyers regret when they come to take your house, pretty much, at that point. And that's a $37,000 vehicle is not hard to buy. I mean, the cheapest new vehicles out there, and if you really get something stripped down, you get like 17, 18, 19,000, but most of 24, 25 is your cheapest.
20 years ago, I bought my house up here.
Mm-hmm.
I moved up to the state. It was $39,900. That same year, my brother-in-law bought a truck for that same price.
Yeah.
Dodge Ram.
Isn't that nuts?
It's like, yeah.
So, let's look at mortgages. I want you to come up with this one for me. We are going to buy a relatively reasonable house. In this area, $120,000 is a nice but still reasonable. The median, the average price of a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in this area is about $112,000. So $120,000 is not out of line. We want to go for 30 years. Now I want you to find 2 payments for me. If you can get, right now on a home mortgage, interest rates have gone up. About 6 months ago, you were able to get about 2.75 if you had good credit. Now you're looking at about 3.5% is about the best you're going to do. I still see people paying 7.5%. Is about as high as I see in the last couple of years. But I want you to find monthly payment at 3.5% and at 7.5%. I'm going to pause and I'll let you guys figure that out in your notes. So we have 120,000 divided by 123, 1 plus 0.035 divided by 12, close, power of 360, 30 years times 12, minus 1, close, divided by, open, 0.035 divided by 12, times, open, 1 plus 0.035 divided by 12, close, power of 360, close and close. Anybody want to share what they got for a payment there?
$538 and 85. 538.85. I'm 83.
You have 83?
No, 85, you're right.
85, okay. So now down here for 7.5% interest, that's the same formula, only it'd be 0.075 every time there's 0.035. What'd you get for that payment?
839.06.
339.06. Now, first of all, look at that. That is $300 a month difference in payment.
Wow, for 30 years.
For 30 years. This one here, the total payments at 3.5%, 538.85 times 360. $193,986. So $194,000 it is costing you for that $120,000 house. You're paying $73,000 in interest. That's about typical. About 2/3. It's about 60 to 70% of your principal gets paid out in interest over the lifetime of a loan, of a mortgage, a 30-year mortgage. For the 7.5%, $839.06 times 360. You caught me chuckling a little bit in the middle of that. Because I know it's 302.061. And was it 60 cents?
Yep.
You just paid $300,000. This is not, it's not that long ago. It was in the late 80s, early 90s, actually not early mid-90s still, that mortgage rates were in the 7s. I mean, that was a good mortgage rate was in the 7s. So it cost you literally 2.5 times what the buying price, the selling price of the house was. You paid 1.5 times in interest. So 2.5 times the selling price of the house was your total payments. That seems nuts. Now I want to compare this. We're going to actually do a different example here, but let's say here that Blair buys a $90,000 home. He wants to compare a 30-year loan at 3.8% and a 15-year loan at 3.4%. That right now is pretty typical numbers. 3 to 4/10 difference on a 30-year to 15-year. In your notes, I want you to find the monthly payment for each of those. Okay, so for the first one, 30 years, 3.8%, we come up with $419.36. For the second one, 15 years at 3.4%,
$638.98.
$638.98. Now you look at that, that seems like a lot more money, and it is. It's $120 a month more. But let's take a peek at the final total. The 30-year, $419.36 times 360 payments. 419.36 times 360. $159.69.60. So that $90,000 home cost you $150,000. That's not horrible until you compare it to the 15-year. 638.98 times only 180 payments. $115 to $1640. So you're only paying $115,000 for that $90,000 house. You're saving $35,000, almost $36,000 in interest. There you go. There's your something to consider. Okay, you guys have suffered enough for the week. Oh, don't say that until after you've seen next week, because I'm almost a little bit ashamed of what I'm going to do to you next week. The good news is, I'm sorry, I shouldn't enjoy this so much, but there's a new quiz that is due tomorrow, Thursday, at 11:59 p.m. There is a new homework due for next week, next Wednesday, class time. 2 weeks from tonight will be our Unit 3 test. I realize we still have one class after that, but I want to make sure you guys have time to do corrections on these. Those of you at the other sites, I will have those tests graded and returned to you by that Friday. If you do not have them by Friday morning, please feel free to email me to ask for it. That generally means I tried to email it and something happened and it didn't come through. So email me and ask for it. So I'll make sure you have it by that Friday so you've got at least 4 or 5 days to do corrections before the last class. Those of you here in Rice Lake, if you can, just stop by this room sometime Thursday afternoon or Friday morning. I'll try to have them graded by then. So you have them. Yeah. Okay. There will be extra credit that we'll do in class then on that Wednesday as well. I'll let you work in groups. Ashland, unfortunately, you'll be a group of one, so you can talk over the network with somebody if you need to.
We're here for you, man.
I'll survive.